Welcome to Beers with Bruce, presented by the Creative Tap and Chicago Beer Experience, featuring DJ Shark. Welcome to episode 10, self-decidedly, the season finale, and the last time this unpaid intern has to step into a shark suit. Featuring royalty-free music by Liquid, Night Out opening song, and possibly Nick Howard if I can get my laptop to work later on. Woo-hoo! And featuring a special guest tonight to introduce you to our brand new adopted 9-year-old pup named Lucky. Hey, Lucky, do you want to just meet everybody? You want to meet everybody? Oh, yeah! Woo-hoo! Hey, Lucky, say hey, everybody. Say, hey, what up, dudes? Woo! And now, Bruce! Woo! Good job, buddy. Good job.
All right, everybody. What a great introduction. I tell you, DJ Shark gets better every week. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing Lucky there. We thought a little blast from the past, since this is the season finale. I don't know if you remember this old guy. It's actually a shower curtain. You can kind of see up top there. Stacy does not let me hang it up in the shower. I've tried numerous times. It lasts for about a day, and then it disappears. Okay. All right, everybody. 6 feet. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. We're here, and I tell you what, it's been 10 weeks. Can you believe that? 10 weeks since we've been broadcasting. I can't believe it. It seems like forever ago. So I'm going to go, and I'm actually going to kind of check in, see how everybody's doing. Give me the scoop if you're on. Say hello. Drop a line in the comments. I think we've got some brewers online, so I hope everybody's doing well. Go ahead and say hello. All right, Mom's in.
Yeah.
All right. She says she was the first to say hi. Thanks, Mama. Hey, Liz. Liz is in. She says, hello, DJ Shark. So sad. Hey, Anna. How you doing? Why the last episode? I'll go into that in a bit. Diane, thank you for signing in. Congrats. On the retirement. That's really, really exciting news. Kevin K. All right, cheers. Is that a baby shark? Yes, it is. Well, I think it's a grown shark.
Yeah, 9-year-old shark.
9-year-old shark. Hey, Pops, what's going on? That is absolutely right. So, all right, thank you. And as you know, we go throughout. Go ahead and hop in, say hello, and let me know how you're doing. Hey, what's up, Brian? And we're gonna get started and rocking and rolling.
I think you need to adjust your computer.
Oh, is it a little?
You're showing a little bit of naked. Eyes behind the curtain.
Oh my goodness! I think we gotta pull this out.
Pull this forward.
Okay, guys. Hey, you know what? Our studio. We don't want. We're in a professional organization here, so we don't want you guys to be. There we go. Okay. So I hope you are all doing well. This is the season finale of Beers with Bruce. There's a few reasons for this. One, I'm sure this was extremely self-indulgent, so thank you guys for putting up with me. This has been a lot of fun, but a couple things. One, I don't want to have to make my parents keep watching me every Friday and Saturday night, I should say. But also, I'm running out of stuff to talk about. I used a lot of these stories from the tours running out of stuff. We're talking a lot about beers. We've been doing a lot of cool stuff, but all good things must end. It's not to say that we will never come back. We will see. We'll see if YouTube renews us.
That's funny.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. But not to say never, but at least this time, season 10 is done, and also with the summertime coming, I'm sure people are going to be doing stuff. Now, states are gradually reopening, and things are going on, so everything is good in that realm. But obviously the COVID crisis is still ongoing and trying to be safe. But it seems like from the science, and I am not a doctor, so do not take this, that outdoor, socially distant socializing and drinking is going to be the way to play this summer, and that's how I'm going to play it. So on a Saturday night, I might be out in somebody's garden. DJ Shark and I just creeping on people. They're not even know we're there. We're just going to be drinking, watching them through the windows. And safe. It's COVID safe. So there you go. But no, in all seriousness, we hope everybody has a wonderful summer and, enjoys the outdoors to the extent you can. Maybe even, whatever you can do, obviously, with the advice of the medical professionals. So that is the scoop tonight, and I hope you enjoyed meeting Lucky. We are very excited. He's a very sweet boy. So here I've got, from a special night, I got a special beer here. This is a Trappist ale. Ho, we are pulling out some big guns. And I'm going to butcher the name of this. I believe it's Westmalle, but it might be something else. My Midwestern coming through. But this is a Trappist monastery and from Belgium. 7%, and I'm going to pop her open here and show you guys. We're going to talk a little bit about this. Now, I'll be honest with you. I know about Trappist beers a little bit, but I had to do some research tonight, so I'm going to be using some notes so that I don't totally mislead you when I'm talking about these beers. So we're going to pour it. These beers, I mean, holy smokes, this is special stuff. So the funny story about this, I went in and I was hanging out with Stace, and she's like, hey, you should go in that store and we need to go buy beer for some reason. Maybe it was the show. She's like, you can go right in there. And I went in there, and it was basically a wine store with like really expensive beers. And I was like, well, I feel guilty. I'm going to buy something. So I bought, this pup. Yeah. So I was not mad at DJ Shark. I was very pleased with her for forcing my hand on this. So we're going to pour. And DJ Shark, you should help yourself if you'd like.
All right. So. Yeah. Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, so I poured it, of course, terribly, but this is this is a Belgian double, Dubel. Westmalle, and you can see, obviously, with the terrible pour there, but that beautiful dark amber color. So these beers are really interesting. I'm going to, of course, hold it up to the light. Then I'm going to give it a nice little, smell there. You can do the long sniff, the short sniff, the drive-by. All those different flavors and tastes, and I'm going to, just get right in there, and it's going to give you hints on the style and what to expect. Obviously, smelling, super important. 10,000 things we smell, 6 things we taste. So it blows, the taste thing out of the water when it comes to flavor. Cheers to you tasting it right now. Cheers, DJ Shark. Thank you for a great 10 weeks.
Absolutely.
Cheers to all of you. Thank you guys for such a great 10 weeks. This has been so much fun. Let's take a sip of our first drink. And if you have a drink, whatever you're drinking, drop it in the comments, and we'll go from there. And we'll cheers to you.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to do my DJ part.
Oh, that is good. That is so good. Oh,
This is a summer jingle.
Is this a drinking song?
It's royalty free.
Royalty free. Is that a Nick Howard?
No.
Oh. Okay, DJ Shark. So anyway, back to the booze. We've got this beautiful. So these beers, really interesting stories when it comes to Trappist ales. There aren't that many in the world. Now, I'm going to consult my notes here. So basically, here's the way I understand. There's this sect called the Cistercians. Okay. True disclosure, when I was growing, people were raised certain religions when they're growing up. It might be Catholic, it might be, Protestant or Buddhist or Muslim or whatever, I was raised as a sailor. So my my knowledge when it comes to the religious stuff is what is the wind blowing and where's the rum. Okay, that's about my knowledge of things. So I'm going to butcher this. Just bear with me, but hopefully we'll get some of the gist out of it. So basically this sect, the La Trappe Abbey, and it's Catholic monasteries, and they follow the rule of Saint Benedict. So basically, what happened is they were doing this thing, and they came and hold on. Let me see if I can find my notes. This is going to be terrible for everybody. They basically were like, "Hey, you guys have gotten to be too liberal, so we're going to break off and start our own thing and go back to the basics and be really strict, kind of in our the way we approach religion." Hence the Trappists. That's how, and it started at this La Trappe, and that's how they got their name. So a spin-off of this Cistercians thing. So they're there, and part of it, really interesting. The 48th chapter of the Rule of Saint Benedict states, "For them they are monks in truth if they live by the work of their hands." So they're basically told to produce things with their hands and sell them. So they're self-sufficient, and also they can use some of that money to support communities. It was originally to feed communities. Now it's a lot of times for other charitable deeds in addition to that. So pretty neat in that sense. So they're doing this, and they started making beer. They made cheeses, beer, and other things of that nature. Now what happened so the Trappists, a lot of them were war-torn. A lot of them were destroyed during the World Wars and other things, but some survived. And what they did was they basically now, in 1997, got together and said, "We are Trappists. This is it. You can't just start a brewery and call yourself a Trappist beer. That's not fair, and it doesn't really, it could take away." I mean, I don't think they were really worried about taking away from their income because they're not terribly concerned about money. Really, in all seriousness, that's kind of the point of what they're doing. In a sense, they're really strict in kind of their observances, but they didn't want other breweries to profit and not use that money for the mission, right? So they got together. Now, pretty interesting. I'll tell you how rare these things are. There are 14. I gotta make sure I get my numbers right. Sorry, this is bad. There are 14 Trappist breweries in the world. So there aren't many at all. It's crazy. And this happened, Westmalle happens to be one of them. They brewed this beer, which is considered the first Duvel, in the mid-1800s. So it goes back a long, long time. And it's been around ever since. So really, really cool. We're kind of drinking history here when you think about it. The other thing, this has a secondary fermentation to it, so these beers actually can last a relatively long time compared to other beers. So what do I mean by that? They actually have live yeast that is also included when they bottle the beers. So these are bottle conditioned, meaning the yeast is still active in there when they go and put it out on the road and go to sell it. So the yeast is still working. So the flavor changes over time. So if you crack this open right after the brewery, it would still be delicious, but it's going to be changing a year or two later. This one, I was reading the label, it was bottled on 2018 on December 12th, and it says, drink it before 2020 on December 12th. So about a 2-year shelf life is what they kind of recommend, but I think you can actually age these for longer. I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure you can. So pretty cool, really, really neat beer styles. And, the Belgian, you really have to go to specialty stores to find these because some of them are crazy to find. Westphalian, which one of their Westphalian 12 is considered by many to be the best beer in the world, never sold to the United States. And so it's wild. You have to go and you can only get a certain amount of cases on certain days, and they don't produce a ton of beer either. But they needed a new house for their monastery. So they decided, this was probably about 5 years ago, they decided to sell beer to the United States for the first time. For one bottle and 2 glasses, it was $90. And people waited in line at Binny's. I remember it because I was like, I should go check it out. It was like on a Tuesday. I couldn't get off of work. It was just this random day. And people were out there because it's just such a rare occurrence, and they said they would never sell the United States again. Like that was a one time just to pay for their new roof on their monastery. So pretty cool. The rules of Trappist monasteries: the beer must be brewed within the walls of the monastery, so they can't just contract out and have it be brewed by Budweiser and be like, Trappist ale. I shouldn't give Anheuser-Busch any ideas. Just kidding, InBev. You know what I'm saying. They must be of secondary importance within the monastery and should witness to the business practices proper to the monastic way of life. So you're not out there all of a sudden going, hey, we're going to Vegas after this. We're going to take this money with these monks and go to Vegas, baby.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that. We're going to be cool. And then the brewery is not intended to be a profit-making venture. This goes back to good works. Income should be living expenses, but also and maintenance, but then donated charity, anything in excess of that. So you can feel pretty good about drinking these beers because if they made any money, they were donating it. There you go. Pretty cool. There are some breweries, I believe, in the United States that kind of observe this similar method, although I'm not aware of any that have been actually certified as, being Trappist in that sense. So pretty cool, and you can definitely check them out. So these beers, a lot of them are strong. They do sometimes do a Prater's beer, which is a very table-centric beer that they might have when they're at the monastery, right? They don't want to be drinking these big beers. If you've had Chimay, you know what I'm talking about, those types of beers. So they are, but most of the ones that you're going to find are going to be doubles or triples and can be really, really big. The nice thing about the double, this one's 7%. It's really not terribly high in ABV. I mean, it's not low, but it's not, 8, 9, 10%. So, and the nice, beautiful thing, they have this beautiful red color. They use particular types of malted barley to give it that particular type of, hops. The IBUs on this at 24, real low relative. So there really isn't much hop presence here at all. I get a lot of kind of toffee. DJ Shark, do you have any flavors these jump out at you here? What's so funny? Uh-oh.
Your dad, he always cracks me up in the comments, and the thought of your dad and Pat Holden having a bite of bacon is making me cry laughing.
I'll have to read the comments. Okay. I've been ignoring them mainly, so. Dad, I'll handle the jokes, okay?
Spencer Brewery in Massachusetts, in Maine, is the only official Trappist brewery in the United States of America.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I love the comments.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And your dad wants to talk about bacon. He just wants more bacon. Bacon.
Okay, well, Dad, just calm down, buddy. Why did that come up?
No idea. He just trolls you.
I know. The best part of the show is my dad trolling me in the comments. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying this beer or whatever you're drinking. I'm going to hop in. Real quick, I do want to give you, before I hop in the comments, I do want to say, I'm going to hop in the comments. Where are we at? How's everybody doing? Give me the scoop here. Okay. Awesome. Sorry, guys. I'm just copping back here. Hey, Meredith and Liz. Thanks for... Hey. Ramon, good to see ya. Panaki, the Sancho brothers are on. West Virginia.
Take
me home to the place. No. Nope. To the place where I belong. Best state song ever. That's good stuff. Clint Eastwood. Good stuff. Pat Holden, you were a monk with the beard. Now I don't know if you're still a monk. You'd have to get an official ruling on that.
Because he hasn't left his house in 12 weeks.
Oh, yeah, totally. I suppose we all are monks.
Yeah.
Living very sparse existences these days. So, bacon. There's the bacon conversation. You want bacon? Get in the comments and go from there. Oh, you said that you thought the same thing. I like it. Thank you, Anna. That's the only. There's one brewery that is an official Trappist brewery. So that's good stuff. Okay. The bacon comments are just going wild. I think Pat Holden and my dad would get along real well.
Very well.
Yeah.
And Liz Crane's drinking I think she said zombie dust.
Oh, I love zombie dust.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, everybody, we'll keep it going, keep it chatting, keep it fun in the comments. Real quick, I do want to say the idea here is I love this from the 80s sitcoms. When you tune in to another show, and it would be just a rehash of clips, like a conglomeration of that show from like whether it's the flashback scenes, right? Like, remember this, and then they just show the show, and you'd be like, man, like, come on. This is why I tuned in. This isn't a new show. You're just giving everybody a week off, but you're still trying to get away with calling it one. So they would do that all the time back then. Now, since I guess seasons are only like 10 episodes, a lot of times they don't do that too much, unless maybe, I don't know, do they do the 24 seasons? DJ Shark's putting a bunch of beer ingredients on the table here, so thank you, DJ Shark.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back in time and just kind of touch base on some of the beers we drank and talk about a little beer knowledge as we kind of go through that. And then we're going to tell some stories, too. Just a lot of some rehashing ones. Hopefully, maybe you haven't heard them all before. We'll try not to make it too boring. But when it comes to beer, I want to say, because 10 weeks, can you believe it? 10 weeks. Crazy. So we talked about IPAs the first week. We talked about lagers and pilsners the second week. Porters and stouts the third week. Wild ales on the fourth week. On the fifth week, we talked about, I don't know, the sixth week, because I can't read my writing, Bière de Garde, farmhouse ales. Seventh week, I had this great idea of doing Hefeweizens and Saisons at the same time, which was a mistake, but I thought was going to launch us to be millionaires at the time. And then week 8, American Pale Ales. Finally, week 9, we had that Oberon, talked American Wheat Ales. And then now we're talking about this Trappist Double. So really crazy stuff. When you think about just the litany of all of those beers that we've talked about. Beer, it's very basic. You should know this by now. 4 ingredients. Water, malted barley, hops, and yeast. Water, probably the easy one. 90% of beer is water, and these days, brewers manipulate it, use their metropolitan water supply, do what they want. Pretty cool. Hops are the bud of a flower that grow on a perennial vine, cousin of the marijuana plant. It's a different show. By the way, did I mention? I think the funniest thing, Illinois, their essential businesses, pot shops are open. 6 months ago, they were illegal. Progress. I always think it's so funny. My parents, they're not big potheads, and so they always are like, it's a gateway drug, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not. Someday I'm gonna try it.
That's funny.
Woo! After the show. Anyway, we go, and so hops give beer a lot of its bitterness, but also its citrus and floral notes. By the way, hops were first used in 870 AD. Before then, they used whatever was around their localities: dandelion, mint, horehound juice, whatever that is, crushed up crab claws and oysters. Now you still have oyster stouts, kind of an homage to that. And it was a way to generate tax revenue for cities, because you had to buy this stuff from them. But nowadays, it's 870. They used hops, and they were like, oh, yeah, the bitterness is perfect. Also, it acts as a preservative. So for the first time, you could really travel with your beer for more than a week or two. You could go a month or longer, depending on how much you used. So hops are super important, very important when it comes to flavor. Barley, malted barley. Barley, a cereal grain grown like corn or oats. And when you first pick it, it's bitter. So then you have to dry it and kiln it. Let it grow and then dry it and kiln it. You can kiln it at different temperatures. Milliard chemistry going to be applying different things when it comes to that. So that's barley. And barley gives beer a lot of its sweetness and breadiness. There's a lot of residual sugars that are left there. But then also gives beer a lot of its color. Really the main driver in color, unless you're adding adjunct ingredients. Then, of course, yeast. Our little friends, before not that long ago, thought it was God's will, or thought it was magic. in order to brew that beer. These days, we know it's our friendly little microorganism that consumes sugar and excretes booze and carbon dioxide. All right, our little friends. We love them. And I've got some here. Thank you, DJ Shark. DJ Shark wanted me to get in some props tonight, which I appreciate because they do make it fun. These guys this is marijuana. I mean, this is hops. Hopefully YouTube won't kick me off for that. Hops. You can't even see it with the green screen. Check it out.
That's funny. That's funny. Magic props.
It's a ghost. It's a ghost hop. It's a ghost hop from beers past. Okay, so that's a hop. You guys know what water is, I hope. And then I've got some malted
Water is Miller Lite.
Yeah, right. I've got some barley here. Let's see if I can do this. I should have done the backgrounds, but instead you're going to get my hand. And there you go. Oh, yeah, there's some barley. I spilled it on my keyboard. And let's get some dark barley just so you can see it. Think of a piece of bread. You can toast it. You don't have to. You can You can really burn it. And that's what they'll do with barley. These porters and stouts get this wonderful color. This beer over here, the double with that dark amber ale, must have used some really interesting kind of dark, obviously a blend of some barleys that were certainly deep in amber or beyond to make that beautiful golden color. So really cool. And then yeast. I wonder if I have yeast here. Do I have it? Yeah. And dried, it's pretty unimpressive. I mean, it just looks like a powder. But you put it in beer. A lot of times you use wet yeast when you're brewing. But delicious magic happens. So good stuff. Wanted to recap a little beer stuff. And, go from there. You know what time it is? Malort break!
Oh, yeah.
Holy smokes. Oh, my God. We're in the bar! We're in the bar! Malort break!
It's Lucky's very first Malort shot, everybody. Can you believe it? He has no idea what's going on tonight. I'm wearing a shark costume. He tried to hump my leg the whole time. He thinks that the green screen, he tried to pee on it. Fun day here. Bye, everybody. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for the last 10 weeks. It's been really fun to see you all and talk in the comments. Mwah, goodbye.
Do you think Lucky will like his Malort break?
No. I'm actually going to drink it tonight.
Yeah, you are.
Oh.
All right, everybody. Malort break! Cheers. Happy Memorial Day.
Cheers. Woo.
All right, time to take off the coat. I love Malort. Oh, yeah. Oh, I tell you, time to relax a bit. Just so you know, we had a bottle and a half when we started the show. This is all that's left. There you go. Malort. Oh, we also talked about Malort, and we talked about Fort Cross and Bloody Marys. Shout out to the Steel and Gold crew. Rock and roll. Sorry we won't be doing a ton of sailing this year, but happy she's in the water, and hopefully you'll get that mask on her soon. But shout out to them, and whew, that Malort, it just makes me happy. It warms the soul, you know, in a weird way. It just is delicious. So thank you, everybody. By the way, that's all I'm gonna say. That's really the scoop. Oh, I'm gonna save that for the end. I'm gonna go to the comments, see what's going on. Any good stuff in there?
Hi to Julie, and thanks for Bellicon Bounce over the last 10 weeks. That's been awesome. That's been such a fun way to stay inside and get some exercise.
Oh my God, I love that Bellicon. Thank you, Julie. It is awesome. The Bellicon. If you want, I mean, you just bounce. It's like a fun. It's the most fun thing ever.
Disguised exercise.
Disguised exercise.
And Katie's tuning in from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, drinking Spotted Cow because they have it there.
Awesome. Katie, drink one for me, please. Yeah. I love Spotted Cow. It is just damn delicious. And
did Malort make a beer?
They did. Malort, actually, I have not tried the Malort beer yet, Ramon. It's on my list. They made it, and apparently it's actually pretty good. They made it with Revolution, I believe, Anti-Hero. I think I might be making that up, but it's really, really good. I'll have to check that out. Oh yeah, Ballard break. Okay, everybody. So we're back. I'm gonna pour my. Oh, I forgot to say. So I actually got this from Belgium myself. I'm sorry, it was supposed to be a joke. I actually got this from Belgium, and it is an official Trappist mug that was used. It was handcrafted by these poor crazy because of that secondary fermentation. It just blows right up. So these were handcrafted by the Trappist monks. You're probably jealous. I'm just kidding. You probably saw the course thing. I got this in college. They sold this at Myers back in Michigan. The Golden Rails. This was on sale for like $5, and all the house bought them. This is bug number 17031, and it was our house cup. House cup. There you go. So I don't know if this is probably going to upset the beer gods, but I was like, I don't have a beautiful Belgian chalice to drink this beer out of, and I thought this was funny. So there you go. You're stuck with that joke. So anyway, we've second part. I want to talk a little history. It was funny. I actually was like, what am I going to talk about? And that's one of the reasons it needs to be the season 10 finale. Because before I start this up again, when we do so, I'm going to need to have some new content created, because I've basically kind of scanned a lot of the tours, and a lot of those stories are already in here. So I kind of wanted to do a little recap. Maybe you're tuning in, you missed that night, maybe you forgot, maybe you drank too much, and you didn't think about all the wonderful things. It's easy to forget this stuff. Maybe you took away a little snippet or two. We started with, give you a little recap, and then I'm going to go deeper dive into a few stories. We went and we started with, town of Chicago, 1833. It's funny, actually, on these hoppy hours that I'm doing, I'm going to touch base on those at the very end. I have had, in 2 days in a row, yesterday and today, 2 groups of people from Cambridge in the UK. How cool is that? Yeah. Cambridge.
And Nick Howard is on.
Hey, Nick Howard. All right. Yeah.
Having friends from the UK.
Yeah, UK. And so I have these Brits on, and they're lovely. And when I tell these stories about Chicago, I'm like, oh my God, the late 1800s. It was so long ago. Holy smokes, can you believe it? And when I've ever had Europeans on the tours, they're always like, kind of rolling their eyes, because to an average European, that's not that long ago, right? Like your time horizons are so different. I just think it's a really interesting concept, time. This is turning into the pot tour. So anyway, I think it's really, time is interesting. Chicago, a young city. That's really the point I'm trying to make here. Yeah. And so we talked 1833, town of Chicago starts in a bar. 1855, those lager beer riots hit. Woo, immigrants, they try to hammer them by enacting laws on booze, and they riot to protest that, right? Then you have, after that, we talked about a lot of the sin happening in the second city. The Sands, I'm going to talk about that. Gunslinger Block, Satan's Mile, the Custom House Levy, all of these brothels and gambling halls and shootouts and gangsters. Then we move in, and speaking of that, we move into Prohibition, the lead up to Prohibition. We talked about that a little last week, going out of order. Then we've talked a little bit more about the mob, Capone, the beer wars, that sort of thing. So covered a lot of ground here, and I do want to do a little deeper dive in a couple of these stories. Some of our favorites that I wanted to discuss just because, it's fun to do so, and figured I'd want to give you a little taste of some other things in case you didn't experience them the first time. So the first thing I want to talk about is one of DJ Shark's favorite stories, the Sands. The city's first vice district started at the mouth of the Chicago River, right by where the Chicago Tribune building is, okay? There were all these sailors coming in from Lake Michigan, and they needed a cheap place to stay. Over time, and that was earlier on, and then over time, it just turned into shanties, and they had brothels, taverns, you name it, drunkenness, murder, robbery, nasty stuff. One of the more famous residents of the Sands was a woman by the name of Margaret McGinnis. It was said that she was drunk for 5 years straight and naked for 3 of them. You know who's Lucky's blushing.
Lucky is blushing.
Yeah. So there you go. So there was a mayor in Chicago at that point named Long John Wentworth, 6'8", New England educated. He was very sophisticated and just did not like the Sands. I mean, who would really if you're the mayor? Black mark on the city. So he's like, we got to get these people out of there. So he tried to shut it down. They did not leave. They would get evicted and just say, we're not moving. And then if they were trying to use force, they'd fight back. And it was kind of like the British favelas now where cops just don't go in there. And that was really the scoop here. The police were like, no, pass. So he did something genius, the Long John Wentworth. He devised a horse race, organized one. Horse racing and boxing were the 2 biggest sports in the country at that point. They were like the NFL and NBA of their day, right? So they go and they advertise it all around the Sands, and those degenerate gamblers as they are go to the Sands to watch this horse race and bet on it too. When they leave, Long John and a team of horses come in, and they start ripping up the shanties from their foundation. Fight breaks out. Women and children, men still there. They fight. A fire happens and burns down the entire district. The next day, in 1857, in the Chicago Tribune, they applauded the effort and said that they hoped such vile and vicious persons never, lived in our fair abode again. Of course, we know how that turned out, right? Lots of stuff. Another thing, of course, we talked about the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 and the Schlitz story and how Schlitz beer became such a huge deal here in those tied houses. The bars and the breweries own the bars outright, but I want to talk a little bit more about one of it was my first favorite story about the tours, which was the 1893 Columbian Exposition. World's Fair. I had a question the other day. World's Fair, what was that? Because I think we might still have them, but it's been since, the Arch in St. Louis, I think in the 1930s, I think, was the last time that one was, I can think of that they were significant. They kind of have fallen out of favor. Maybe there's others. Maybe the one in New York with the thing in Men in Black. I don't know. I'm riffing now. Point is, they're not like they were back then. And back then, I would compare them to the Olympics today. It was a thing that was bid on. It was held every few years, and people from around the world would come and visit the World's Fair. There just wasn't an athletic competition associated with it. Instead, they would try to exhibit the most modern stuff, and every country would be welcome to have their own exhibits. So it became this really cool environment. Here, if you've ever read or heard of the book Devil in the White City, you know what I'm talking about. And I'd highly recommend that book if you haven't read it. In 1889, they had just had the World's Fair in Paris, and there they made the Eiffel Tower for that World's Fair. Originally, of course, Parisians hated it. I suppose if it was built and you didn't expect it, it would take a little while to get used to it. I believe it was supposed to be a temporary exhibition. Of course, it's still there now, and it's pretty flippin' cool. So it's good stuff. So that's there. And then here in Chicago, they did the Ferris wheel. That was kind of the big thing that we did. First ever. It was pretty rickety. They had railway cars and people would faint. Pretty deal. And they had other things debut at the fair as well. Well, guess what? They had a beer competition. Yeah, we had over 4,000 breweries in the United States in the 1800s. And they invited them and others from around the world to debut their beer, or kind of show off their beers at this competition. In keeping with the camaraderie spirit of the fair, they did not award outright winners. As long as you met a minimum grade of your beer, you got a ribbon. As a very late stage millennial, certainly self-identifying as one because I like my iced coffee roll in the office around 10:30 with my avocado toast. I appreciate a participation trophy. Give it to me. I'm here. I want applause. I want a medal. I want that. So I'm with them. They got that. Well, the 2 biggest brewers said screw that because they knew the value of marketing if they won the World's Fair in 1893. So they went outside the official purview of the fair. They started bribing beer judges. the Chicago way. And when the dust settled, Pabst beat Anheuser-Busch by one random point. The Blue Ribbon beer, Pabst Blue Ribbon. That's really how PBR gets its name. So cool stuff. That story always just made me giggle because PBR, it's had this weird thing where it became a hipster beer, and then now it's almost as expensive as craft beer in a lot of places, and it really had a resurgence. It's not bad. It's pretty good lager. I have no problem with PBR, to be totally honest. It's for what it is. I'll wear my skinny jeans and slam a bunch of them. It's not a pretty sight. And so there you go. So a neat story there. Then I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about Al Capone and the mob. I know my pops loves the gangster stuff, and a lot of people on here do. So remember, Prohibition goes into effect 1920 to 1933, 13 years. Keg of beer goes from $50 in today's dollars to $650 almost overnight. So there's a lot of money to be made. And really, organized crime pre-existed Prohibition. But it really organized during it because there was so much money to be made. And very simple economics, really. The more territory you controlled, the more speakeasies you would sell to, and the more money you would make as a mob, as a gang. There wasn't just one. There were many. In 1925, they identified 1,300 different gangs with over 25,000 different members, all fighting over territory. Chicago became particularly violent. They had something called, the drive-by shooting was invented here. Yay! And then the Tommy gun, a machine gun invented for World War I, was called the Chicago typewriter. You see those movies. You know what I'm talking about. So they're doing that. Really, Capone got his start at the Torrio-led organization, Donnie Torrio, and the South Side Mob. He's there, and they would, he eventually, there were beer wars. They were rivaling with the North Side Gang. I think I detailed that. All the shootings back and forth and back and forth. Torrio was shot 7 times. He survived, but he gave his territory to Capone in 1925, and that's really when Capone took over to be the #1 guy. Now, the funny story that I love, so Capone's, by the way, his organization was selling about $1.4 billion product a year, mostly booze, and he was estimated to be about $1.3 billion in his peak net worth. All before the age of 33, making me feel like a complete loser. So, just a couple billion behind that.
It's nothing like when your wife belts out laughing at that one. Joking.
Come on, I got 29 YouTube subscribers. I'm on my way.
You don't even, there's not 29 people even watching right now.
Yeah, but they're subscribed.
Right. They'll watch tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Oh, I know the jokes, DJ. Sure. She's right. So good stuff. So Capone, super public person. He would have $5,000 suits made for him, about $60,000 a pop these days. You adjust for inflation. He would also he would do that. He also would do other things. He would go to the Arlington racetrack and lose a bunch of money a week, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Apparently, he was a terrible gambler, but he had a ball and he had the money to burn, so why not lose it, right? Then he would also go to the Cubs games. Love those lovable losers up at Wrigley Field. I actually just uncovered on the Happy Hour class, I showed some photos of him when he's with the Sun in the newspaper, and one of them, he's got Machine Gun Jack McGurn behind him. There's always a couple guys with fedoras acting as security. It's pretty cool that you can still find these photos to this day. Like, it's a story that can be proved that he went there. And he would go there. Now think about this. If you're the federal government, you're like, everybody's making fun of you, right? You're like, how's Prohibition going? They're like, because they're reading the headlines, all this violence. It was terribly violent. They weren't stopping. They did reduce booze. We talked about this previously. Like, people were drinking less. It did work in that sense, right? But they weren't like, they weren't having a ton of success. A lot of things were going wrong. It was back and it wasn't working. So they're getting made fun of. It's embarrassing, at the least. So, the American government's kind of ticked off at the whole thing. And, there's still some reformers. But I think by 1930, most of the reformers were like, yeah, this was probably not going to work, right? And so they're going, but they're still embarrassed, trying to save face. So Herbert Hoover would end his cabinet meetings asking if they got Capone. because this guy's hiding in plain sight. He's going to the Cubs games. He's going out. He's going to the Arlington racetrack. He's going wherever, getting photographed. He would go and he opened up soup kitchens in 1929 and fed the poor. He said, hey, I'm doing more than the federal government's doing to battle this stuff. Why are they after me? I'm the good guy here. Good PR. He was a savvy dude. Kind of a Trump-like in his day, I guess. Although, I don't know if that's probably too much credit. Too much credit to one of them.
Trump-teenies. What were those called?
Trump-teenies. We'll get into that as
yeah.
we wrap things up. But no, you're right. Trump-teenies. Don't drink those. They'll kill you. So so Capone's there. He's having a hell of a time. He's having a ball. But of course, so I lost my train of thought. Basically, the story. This has been verified. We had a lot of tour guides work for Wrigley and the Cubs. New York sent a telegram to Wrigley Field, and they said, "Can you please tell Mr. Capone he's no longer welcome at Wrigley Field? It's embarrassing, And they're getting heat from D.C. and the politicians, right? They sent a telegram back. You tell him.
That's a good one.
I mean, could you imagine being the usher? Mr. Capone, you cannot attend. I mean, come on. So that's pretty funny. They finally got Capone. They had a hell of a time bringing him down. They would they would find his illegal brewing operations, but then a cop would call and be like, hey, they got you. And they'd go and steal it back out the back door, sell it to the speakeasy right down the street. He just had bought half the city of Chicago, and he was very hard to get. They finally got him with tax evasion. And this, by the way, was not a done deal when it comes down to it. Like, these Supreme Court decisions on taxes had just kind of come out in the 1920s saying you got to pay taxes on illegal stuff too. So it sounds pretty apparent now, but back then, they were pretty savvy, and Capone was not as kind of ignorant as he seems now or today, right? If that happens, pulling the Wesley Snipes, or I'm trying to think of some people that just cheat their taxes or whatever. So they're there, and they bring him down through tax evasion. He spends time in Alcatraz, in other prisons, released, and for health reasons, and then of course dies of syphilis. What a way to go, Mr. Al Capone. Hi Hutch, how you doing? I got the DJ Shark shout out. You got it. All right.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
So many great people coming in on the last episode. Just saying hello.
I love it. Hey, all right. Better to be late than never. Or
some people just don't. Some people have been on the whole time, but you don't know how to comment on.
Oh, commenting. Yeah, the
Commenting
YouTube thing
is really hard on YouTube.
Yeah. No, thank you. And no, and there's no pressure. Whatever. Yeah, it's all good. So the good stuff there. Now, I kind of wanted to wrap things up tonight with one final little story. Not really a story, but just kind of facts that I don't think I've disclosed yet or talked about yet on the show. But first, I'm gonna have a sip of this beer. This beer is so damn good. I'm gonna crush this after this show's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, bathe in it.
No. Lucky is sound asleep, by the way.
Yeah, Luxter's 9.
He's 9 years old.
He's not a puppy.
He's like, why does the show start at 9?
It's a little past his bedtime.
Yeah.
It was that shot of the Lord. I'm just kidding. So one quick story. Prohibition ends. We haven't talked a lot about post-Prohibition. Basically, beer kind of, when Prohibition ended, everybody's like, yes! And everybody's like, we're back. Brewers went to work. Everybody was like, it's going to be great again. Because beer beforehand, there was a lot of it. There were a lot of challenges in the industry, which I will not get into only because it'll bore the hell out of you at this point. But I can. And so they open up. And you know what? It turns out beer kind of struggled for a long time. A few reasons for this. One, when they opened up those breweries, it had been 13 years since a lot of that equipment had been used. Obviously, you have mob beer and illegal beer, right? Mob beer was terrible. And they had a corner on the market. They didn't need to make it great. Nor did they. They just wanted to sell it, and people would drink it because what else are you going to drink? Right. And then you also had, then counter that also. So you had mob beer. You had also mob liquor, Bathtub Gin, etc. What would you do with the liquor? You'd mix it into cocktails, add soda, add ginger ale, that sort of thing, to cover up that terrible taste. So you lost out on a whole generation of college kids. I mean, back in those days, it wasn't really college kids, but there were some. But you lost on a whole generation of young people who were drinking in these speakeasies. A lot of them were drinking more liquor than beer. Beer was still drank, but you could mix away the terribleness with the liquor. So cocktails, by their very nature, tend to be a little sweeter in nature. So to go back to like your common lager, which was standard at the time, was an ask for people, some younger drinkers in particular, who had never developed a taste for that. Then you couple that with World War II. You had rationing, which impacted barley and grain, which restricted beer production. You also had the rise of consumerism, mass consumerism, and brand loyalty. So I'm only going to get Colgate toothpaste, or whatever. Sponsor the beer tour show. I was like, why am I shouting out these brands? But you know what I mean. Then so brand loyalty was a thing and started becoming a really big deal with beer, leading in part to a consolidation. Beer. So then you had mass consolidation, leading to kind of just some major players, and the number of players just continued to dwindle because it was really, really hard. Then you have kind of supermarket buying, that sort of thing. That's all of these things are trends. And really, by 1978, only 89 breweries existed, brewing almost all lagers and light lagers. Okay, so there really wasn't much, and it was really a price-driven industry. Efficiency and whatever you could do to cheapen that price process was going to give you an edge against the other brewer. It was cutthroat. It was tough. And so just a really hard business. And for consumers, pretty tough because all you really had were lagers and light lagers. There really wasn't a ton more in the marketplace. So it was a dark day for American beer. And then we had a few things go in our favor. One, Fritz Maytag bought Anchor Steam in 1965. It was an existing brewery. I think it had under $100 in the till. He was the heir to the Maytag fortune, but still hadn't quite figured out what he wanted to do. And he found this brewery. He's like, let's do it. For the first time, he goes, and even though it was pre-existing, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to compete with these people on price. I'm going to start to go back to the basics and really compete on quality. A premium product with more flavor, that's better made. It's craft. Hence the name craft beer. That was one major elevation for people in 1965, largely considered by most to be the first craft brewery in the United States. Homebrewing, Jimmy Carter legalizing it in 1979, and so he legalized homebrewing. Then we have all these homebrewers coming on. And I mean, it's so funny. I really love the business aspects of breweries because it's just kind of neat to see how people get started and do this. But I would say 3 times out of 5, 4 times out of 5, it's like two buddies started homebrewing in their garage, and then they just started to start a brewery. It's cool, and I'm not ragging on those people at all. I'm jealous. If anything, it's awesome, but it shows you, people start at home and they get a real interest to it, maybe do it well, and then they kind of take the next step and do it commercially too, which is awesome. So now we're over 7,500 breweries in the United States. A lot of people think it is the best time to be drinking in human history. 10,000 years we've had beer. Humans have been around, 400,000 years? Millions of years? I mean, evolution, however you want to define that back. Today, I know coronavirus stinks. I know we're all trapped in. We're all monks here, right, Pat? It's rough. But guess what? It is the best time to be drinking beer. We have that going for us.
Yes.
Go get some beer and drink it and be proud to drink it. We are, the beer is representing the very best in human invention and it's humankind. It's their soul in a product. I love it, and it is just the best time to be drinking in human history. So enjoy and feel good about this. It's something positive to take away from sometimes dark times that we live in, right? So there we go. Sorry, I'm going to get off my soapbox a little bit and go back in the comments, see how people are doing. But wanted to kind of give you a couple stories there, and we'll go from there. DJ Shark, do you want to maybe play some music real quick?
Absolutely. And then I was texting. I'm sorry. Are we signing off?
No.
Final song?
No,
Sorry,
we're just.
It's been an hour. I didn't know.
Oh, it's been an hour?
Today?
Yeah, no, I'm just going to check in the comments and do
All
a
right.
couple more things before it's the last one. I didn't know it was that long. I got on a roll. Little Nick Howard. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Whoops. Did I close out by mistake? I hope not. Oh, there we go. We're still streaming. This is great. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
DJ Shark was texting and not really playing. Okay, I'm just checking in the comments and saying hello to everybody. All right, Jordan Schrader, good to hear you. Yeah, the Cup has seen some things. That's hilarious. Old college buddy. Devil Noid City, great book. Awesome. Julie, all right. Cool. You guys are awesome in the comments tonight. Thank you so much. And this is great.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. Okay, everybody. Well, you know, I want to say we've covered a lot of ground. We kind of went through the beard ground. We kind of went through a lot of things about Chicago history and some fun stories about that. We went through, and I was trying to recap, and DJ Shark was helping, and we talked about Tiger King. Remember Tiger King, by the way? That was like, doesn't that seem like 5 years ago? It's not even funny anymore. It's like just, oh my God. We talked about the Trumptini. Don't drink bleach, folks. We talked about Clint Eastwood. I know Pops is still rather attached to old Clint. We talked about murder hornets. We had that Last Dance / Last Swim documentary on DJ Shark last week.
I'm going to have a last swim tonight.
Last Swim tonight. And we talked about all of that good stuff. So we've really shared a journey here. I will tell you this. From a mental health standpoint, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys tuning in and how much this has meant to me. And I think DJ Shark as well.
Absolutely.
And DJ Shark, thank you. You were awesome during this.
Unpaid intern.
Yeah, I appreciate everything. And it's just been so much fun. So thank you. Maybe we'll come back sometime. This is the season finale for now. Enjoy your summer. Oh, and I am going to do a bias shout out to myself here.
Yeah, you pivoted to virtual.
Yeah.
Everybody in the biz is saying.
And basically, I think I'm going to see if I can add something real quick. So I've been starting to do these classes.
I can just put in the chat.
Oh no, that's okay. I think I know right where it is. So it's going to take 2 seconds. And I think we'll see. But basically, I started doing this happy hour class, and it is so fun, and it is working out really, really well. I'm starting to really find my zone here. So,
and that's because of the show.
Yeah, this show is really the reason that gave me the confidence to do this, and so it is just awesome. So I really appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate being able to do this because it has given me. Maybe I don't. Okay, if
That's
I can't
okay.
find
I'm
it.
just gonna. Don't worry about it. You know all 16 of these human beings.
Yeah. You're right. You are right.
Just send them an email.
Okay. Yeah. No. I'll just. Yeah. If you're interested, just do it. And we'll go from there. But no, it's just been so much fun. So I really appreciate it. Yeah, I can't find it. But it is so fun. And it has been, this is a shout out to last night's group. We did the happy hour. I'll just show Kinzel's group real quick because you can kind of see what's going on here. And you can kind of see, we kind of go in, there I am, and we go and we talk about beer, we taste beer, and it's just so much fun. So check it out if you're interested. If not, no worries. And rock and roll. The bottom line is, you guys have been so much to us. I went on too long that time.
A little bit long.
But it was worth it with the season finale. And rock and roll, everybody. Stay safe. I think we're going to get through this. We're going to see the other side. There's light at the end of the tunnel, maybe. So just keep at it, and we will get through this. In the meantime, drink this wonderful beer that is around it. And if you're in Chicago, I'm going to come drink in your yard.
Yes.
Just give me a shout. That's my plan for the summer, the whole summer.
Yes.
I want to drink.
Thank you, Frontline Heroes.
Thank you, Frontline Heroes. Yeah, absolutely.
And congrats to all the parent teachers. It's almost summer break.
Yeah, parent teachers. Time to watch your kids more.
We'll creep in your backyard.
Yeah, totally.
Provide entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, we're here for birthday parties. If you guys kids want to know about beer, come on around.
DJ Shark.
Yeah, here's a shot of Malort. So maybe they'll sleep well, right?
Yep.
Let kids drink. No.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
a funny
Yeah,
SNL episode.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna dance this off. Last time for now. Thank you so much.
That's it.
Love you guys. Have a good one.
Can you put my tank on?
Yeah, I put the tank on. Okay. There we go.
Yes. The last one.
The last
The real
one. Hey, remember, 6 feet. 6 feet. Quarantine.
Good night. Are you dancing?
I need some more Malort to dance. Hey, there's our buddy.
Oh, Lucky!
Buddy.
Way to end it, buddy. Week 10, you woke up. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, pal. You are like, who the fuck adopted me? This 63-year-old human-ear dog is out of his element. Love you, buddy. Welcome.
Okay.
Love you.
Okay, everybody, have a great night. We'll see ya.
Okay, bye.
Have a good one.
I don't know how you turn it off.
No worries. Oh, I gotta turn it down this way.